She's an award-winning author, popular speaker, and leader in the field of children's emotional health. Her books, which have won multiple awards, include Growing Happy Kids, The Energetic Keys to Indigo Kids, and Highly Sensitive Kids. In her work, she focuses on developing a deeper level of confidence and resilience in our children and helping all children, including sensitive ones, thrive. She has appeared on PBS, NBC, and Disney. And today, we welcome Maureen Healy on Happier TV. Maureen, thank you very much for joining me on Happier Talk. So how do you grow happy kids?
That's a big question, right? Right, one step at a time like everything else. But, you know, it's interesting because I've come to that place, like many people have, where children can become happier sooner rather than later. Many of us adults have come to happiness or become happier, sort of a bumpy path to that power, that awareness. And the time has come where we know more now that we can help children avoid some of those unnecessary sufferings.
How do we do that?
It's a good question. I believe it always begins with emotional mastery. So helping children really learn, you know, how to name their emotions, to identify them, to deal with them when they're small before they get really big, even if there's only a few seconds in between, to help them develop that mindfulness, that self-awareness.
Are you talking about them labeling the emotions? I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry?
Yeah, I think it starts with knowing which different emotions are, and knowing that all emotions are good. There are no bad emotions. Emotions are just signs to what's going on inside, just helping them understand what that emotion means, what it is, and then how we can constructively, not destructively, constructively express it. Because one thing I learned with children nowadays, they're fast moving, they're intense, and they're gonna express it. So it's really about channeling that emotion into a place that we're comfortable with and that serves them and serves others.
So you say start with managing, channeling their emotions. What's the next step?
Absolutely, definitely give them outlets, emotional self-control, emotional awareness, emotional learning. And then after you continue to get a level of emotional learning where we can go to the next step, it would be more of the mindset of happiness, helping them develop these positive inner qualities like compassion, like generosity, like forgiveness, all these positive inner qualities along with that skillful mindset, learning how to be optimistic, right? How to reframe challenges, how to forgive people, how to help others, really developing that compassion, that empathy.
Let's zoom in on one of the concepts, generosity.
Right.
How do you cultivate generosity in children?
Right. Yeah, it's a great question, right? I always feel like generosity goes along with gratitude. Because when you're very grateful and you're trusting, you tend to give from your heart.
Yep.
So, you know, having a direct experience, whether it's your child going to a soup kitchen with your child, or a direct experience in going to the Humane Society and walking the dog, and just seeing that there's other beings on the planet that not only need your help, but you can really make a positive impact. It could even be a lemonade stand, but, you know, being able to give things to other people. And then you can be generous. Immediately when you're generous, you feel good. You get a happiness bump.
So and then it's self-reinforcing, because then you want that happiness bump again, so you're generous again, and so on and so on.
And when I would talk to kids about generosity, I would say you can be generous with your words. It doesn't have to be buying something. You could say, "Oh, you look lovely today, Mom or Dad. Wow, you did a great job with that barbecue." You know, it really, it can be, it doesn't have to be like giving or taking. It can be with words, with thoughts. You can be generous at the end of the night. Who can we pray for tonight? What person or being or animals in the world that send positive energy to all the animals in the ocean? It can just be that thoughtfulness of being able to other-mindedness, not just about me, but thinking about how can I be grateful that things are in general working out pretty good, but how can I also help others and be generous with my time or my words or my thoughts?
Yeah. Are there other things that we should do with our children if we want them to be happy, which we all do?
Right, sure, of course. I think habits, it always comes back to habits, because the more we hardwire habits, the more children don't have to think about it. They just do something, whether it's gratitude practice at the end of the night, the rose and the thorn, The rose being, what am I grateful for? What's the positive thing? And the thorn, what's the challenge? So that we can have that dialogue and we can keep steering them towards the positive parts of life, knowing that it's a choice. Happiness is a choice. So we have to learn how to choose it. And it comes easier to some children than others. Of course, there's a biology there, but helping optimize the intentional choices that they make to become happier and surrounding them with happy kids, happy friends, happy school environments. You know, when I work with a child and they're miserable at school, it just breaks my heart because, you know, that's like going to work every day and feeling miserable. It's like, how can you expect this child to be happier if things aren't quite right there? So the school match is so essential to a child that really feels validated and heard and happier. Or if the school isn't right, let's have that discussion. What can we do? Is there a charter school? It doesn't have to be about money, but is there a creative solution here to help them feel good at school, feel connected, feel loved by their friends, and be able to really, you know, a lot of parents actually, a challenge I think to the happier piece, a lot of kids, they don't know their talents, right? So, you know, maybe one child has soccer, so they've got all their trophies. That's pretty clear. It's athletic, excellent. Another child, we don't know. We're sort of in the process of discovering, so they feel a little like, I don't know what I'm good at. And giving them the ability to try on different hats. And if you fail, okay, let's start again. Let's do something else. Or if it's invisible, maybe they're more of a counselor type of a person or a helper. You know, maybe get them certifications like you helped at this project, making things visible in their life so that there's a wall of praise or something that responds back to them. So on a very subconscious level, they're beginning to see who they are. Because when they see who they are and the power they contain, they can be who they came here to be when they feel like, okay, it's safe to be me. A lot of kids are grappling with that question. Is it safe to be who I really am? I know you love me, but you want me to get A's. If I bring home a B, is there something going on here? So that really giving that unconditional love, of course, guidance. And, you know, we want them to give their best, so we're not saying slack off, but helping them try different things and be able to fall in love with different things. And if they're unusual or weird, that's okay too. I've had parents say, you know, I ordered a doctor, but I got a musician's son. So, you know, I always think of parenting as, you know, it is the best way for spiritual growth, right? For both the parent and the child. There is always like this perfect match of this is the best opportunity to grow between these two beings.
Yeah, so you're talking, there's a lot of research in positive psychology on the importance of finding, identifying, and then focusing on your strengths.
Right.
And you're saying that with young children, we need to help them identify their strengths, both in terms of what they're good at and also in terms of what they're passionate about.
Right.
Which often go together, but not always. And if you can get children to be in that zone where passions meet strength, then that will help them become more confident and feel like they're worthy.
Right. And being creative about it. Like Michael Phelps, his family put him in the water because they're like, he had so much energy, we didn't know what to do. So it turned out to be a wonderful channel for his energy and talents, but being open to trying different things to surface. And even it might be unconventional, it might be archery, it might be things that we don't think about, but that are completely suitable for the child because they are, we can't forget, born for another age, right? They're hardwired in the digital native world, so they're born for this age that we hopefully will see, but it's not our age. They'll live beyond us, most likely.
You know, one of the biggest challenges that I see parents are facing is the whole idea of boundaries. Because on the one hand, they know that they need to validate their children to help raise their self-esteem, but on the other hand, they also know that they need to be parents. Say more about this.
Well, I mean, the thing that jumps into my mind about boundaries is really social media, because there's this, you know, you want to, if your child's 12 or above or an appropriate age, that a lot of children are either getting on Facebook or getting on Instagram or Snapchat, you want to give them their freedom because that's their world that they're speaking in, but you wanted to monitor things too because there is cyberbullying. Like anything, there can be a higher octave and a lower octave, so you want to be able to know what's going on in your child's life, but be giving them their freedom. And also boundaries, it's a big deal because you want to respect them as another individual, but you don't want to be their friend, and you want to play the role as their parent. So I always think of it as partnership versus an authoritarian parent always seems to work a little bit better. So you want to partner with them and motivate them and develop that authentic relationship so they will come to you when things are challenging. But if you do a very authoritarian, like, no, this doesn't happen under my roof or not under my watch, or, you know, you must do it because I said so, children don't feel like they can come to you. You're not approachable. So it's a fine line of really having a compassionate or empathetic leader role as a parent, and also setting boundaries like, no, you will not hit your mom. You know, no, dinner is at 5 o'clock every single night. Like, you know, there should be things that are non-negotiable, and there's other things that are negotiable. Like, okay, we can decide to do your homework now or later or first thing in the morning, but then there's things that are like rules of the family that I think need to be respected and honored, and that's important.
That's important also because it prepares them best for life. Because in life you cannot do anything that you want, and there are rules out there.
Right. I mean, you know, everyone's got to pay their taxes. This is the way it goes. So it's important to raise kids to be accountable and self-reliant. And I think oftentimes we want to do everything for them. We want to put them in a bubble, which is a wonderful, beautiful feeling from a parent, but it doesn't serve them. They need the direct experience of not only falling, of getting back up, and also learning, you know, where one thing begins and one thing ends. They have to be accountable for their choices so that they make better choices.
No, I very much like Maria Montessori's approach, who once said, minimize intervention. Don't do for the children what they can do for themselves.
Right. Agreed. Totally. If they're 8 years old, they can get their glass of milk. No, really, it's a big deal. You know, because we're always trying to get everything for them, but at some point, it serves them to be able to take care of themselves. Whether it's an allowance or chores around the house. I mean, start small, but certainly keep building on this, because the world, as we know, isn't going to get easier. Yes. And you want to have them know that they can do it.
Yes,
that feeling.
Exactly. And it's the feeling. It's also preparing them for the future. It's feeling better at the moment. It's also preparing them for the future.
Right. It's that growth mindset, right? That they can continue to bounce out and they can continue to grow, and that they know that they can continue. You know, if you're doing something for everyone, it doesn't give you the feeling like I got this. Yes. You want them to feel like, oh, I can keep stretching. You know, there's always that delicate line of pushing and pulling, right? So you want to keep moving them along, and healthy boundaries are essential, especially for a child. Especially if, you know, bullying unfortunately still is a big situation. You want them to stand up for themselves. There's not only boundaries in the home, but boundaries in the classroom, on the school bus, you know, you want them to be able to have the words, whether it's role playing or scripts. You want to be able to help them, empower them.
Interesting. So what you're saying is that when they experience boundaries from the parent, they also know how to put boundaries to others, because they have a role model.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, of course, when a situation comes up, maybe like a bullying incident that they never had before, it's a good dialogue to have with them. Well, it sounds like they crossed a boundary. That's appropriate, and say, you know, that's not okay. And how do you feel like, what would serve you? You know, how do we respond to that? You know, because that's a big deal. Yeah,
I'm thinking back to what you said a few minutes ago, which was about being a partner. And when you're speaking to them, when you're communicating about ideas like that, you are being their partner.
Right. It's coaching, not controlling. So that you have to keep thinking the word coaching, like emotional coaching. It's not necessarily how I was raised or other generations were raised, but nowadays we're really focused on the inner world of a child, helping them become happier, again, sooner rather than later, because it's possible. And it creates a happier world. So the ripple effect is immeasurable.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Maureen, for all the amazing work, important work that you do.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.